Hi friend, maybe you recognize where we are today. This is my parents' house, which means it's a big family food prep day. And today happens to be tomato day. We are processing 350 pounds of tomatoes. These are Roma tomatoes. My dad got them at an auction a few days ago, and they've just been sitting and ripening a little bit more, waiting for this tomato day. It's perfect that we managed to get Roma this year because they're great for sauce, and that's what we're making. We're actually making three things today. We're making spaghetti sauce and diced tomatoes, canned diced tomatoes, and salsa. So each family, there are 4 families that'll be taking things home today. Each one has their own collection of things they want out of this day. I want diced tomatoes and salsa today. I still have spaghetti sauce left from last year's tomato day. As you can imagine, when we're processing this many tomatoes and there's 3 different recipes being made, there's just a lot of steps to all these different processes that are happening at the same time. So I'm going to try to show you step by step what we did for each recipe. We might have to jump around a little bit. Making spaghetti sauce started with putting halved tomatoes over the heat, and they're being mashed down a little bit here just to release enough juice so that they don't stick to the bottom of the pan. Those were allowed to cook until they broke down into a sauce. That cooking process takes a while. It's usually a good chance for a few people to sit around and talk and stir the pots until the tomatoes have released enough liquid that they're ready to pass through the food mill.
Yeah, it is.
I think it's time to get up and stir.
Oh, done already.
Look at all those
Once the tomatoes have cooked down and become a more soupy texture, they're ready to be passed through the food mill. My dad rented this food mill from a local farmer's market. It's great to have something that's commercial quality and can handle all of the volume that we're passing through it today. So it sorts out those seeds and stems and skins, leaving behind that good sauce. And this waste that you see coming out is passed through the mill one more time just to make sure that any usable juice makes its way into the sauce. There's as little waste as possible.
And then this goes back on the stove, is that right, Dad?
After the sauce is passed through the food mill, it goes back onto the heat to start to cook down, and we prepare the seasonings to add to it to make it spaghetti sauce. So my sister-in-law is cutting some onions here. She'll add herbs to the onions along with some garlic, and they'll get blended together. And then some wine is also added to this sauce. My family's been making this sauce for a long time. I'll put the recipe down below. That looks thicker.
All 3 are on. Turn them on. All right.
That's pretty cool. Like, that's your family's supply of sauce. That's so much sauce.
We went through it.
Did you?
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm video. I can't believe I am in the video.
Yeah. Is that okay with you?
Yes, it's. Well, I always wanted to be in the video.
It's true. I have been working hard to keep you out of them, and I've
Yeah,
kind of given up.
I know. Finally. Big fire.
You feeling better, dude?
I remember in a big fire.
Preserving diced tomatoes starts with coring the tomatoes. I hadn't cored tomatoes using this little tool before. I love this tool. This is much better to me than using a knife to core tomatoes. Next, the tomatoes go into boiling water to be blanched for 3 minutes. That blanching helps the skins to lift right off so that they're ready to be diced. We've got a couple pots going here because there's so many tomatoes to dice. So one's outside and we're using another pot inside as well. You can see here that the skins are already starting to lift off. The last station for these tomatoes is the dicing table. My sister starts out dicing on her own, but this is a big job and it takes a lot of people. So by the end of the day, there's a whole group that's just dicing tomatoes.
What's involved? Well, this is where we're...
Some families store their diced tomatoes in freezer bags and some choose to can. So I like to can mine. 2 tablespoons of lemon juice are going into each jar. And then the jars are filled with tomatoes and the tomatoes are pressed down to push out their juice. And the juice is the liquid for canning. They're filled to a 1/2 inch of headspace. The rims are wiped clean, and then lids and bands go on, and these are processed for 45 minutes in the water bath canner.
This is cracking me up. All right, should we get this off together?
Looked. You can wait about a week.
Finally, some of the diced tomatoes, instead of being preserved, went on to become salsa. I normally freeze my salsa, and I've made a few batches to freeze this year, but we wanted to try canning salsa together for the first time. If you've joined me for any of my other projects this summer, you might know that I learned my lesson the hard way when it comes to wearing gloves while cutting hot peppers. So I'm wearing gloves this time, I'm doing it right. These are some spicy bell peppers that I'm cutting up here, along with some jalapenos. We're not using the full amount of hot peppers that this recipe calls for because my family's not really big on spicy foods.
Such a nice. That's nicer than mine. Yeah, for sure. This house, it's hard to visualize. You paint a swatch, it's hard to visualize.
Yeah.
We painted a whole house like tangerine orange.
Inside?
Outside.
Outside orange?
The whole exterior. And then we'd run out of money, so we were like, we're selling an orange house. Like, it is a stucco. You don't have any sharing for Uncle Gerald?
My sister's food processor really saved us from a lot of chopping time for this salsa. So the onions, the sweet peppers, and the hot peppers all passed through the food processor before we realized we were going to need a much bigger bowl.
Oh my gosh. This is cool. I've never seen a vat of salsa. I want a big spoon. Yeah, seriously.
To these tomatoes and blended cilantro, we added our onion pepper mix, and then it was time for tomato paste and apple cider vinegar and seasonings. At this point, we were all getting pretty tired, and doing the math on a quintuple batch when you're pretty tired starts to get a little fuzzy. Fortunately, my sister saved us at the last minute, right as I was about to add in twice the amount of salt that the recipe called for, which could have really ruined a very large batch of salsa. I'm glad she was a little more clear-headed than I was. By the time we were ready to put salsa into jars for canning, it was mid-afternoon and it had been a very full day. The outdoors canning was going really slowly with those burners outside because it's such a windy day. So we decided to each take our jars of salsa home and we could can them on our own. Our 350 pounds of tomatoes became 67 quarts of spaghetti sauce, about 50 quarts of diced tomatoes, and 36 pints of salsa. We're all really happy with what we've gotten done today. We'll be able to fill our pantries with these tomatoes and enjoy good tomato dishes throughout the year and be ready to do it again next year. Thanks for joining me and my family, and I look forward to sharing more with you next week. Until then, bye.